Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're exploring this really interesting concept that I found in our source material. It's the idea of the world as a kind of spiritual school.
Ooh, a spiritual school, huh?
Yeah, so it's not a literal school, of course, but it's presented as this framework with five distinct grades, and each grade is guiding us, all of us, towards this realization of our oneness with God.
Okay, I'm intrigued. 5 grades leading to oneness.
Hmm.
And where does the joyful living part come in?
Right, that's the beautiful part. The idea is that as we progress through these grades, we're also moving towards a life of genuine, lasting joy. And it's not just about reaching the final grade, but about how understanding each level can help us live more joyfully right now.
Gotcha. So it's not just a destination, but a process of growth and understanding.
That's the gist of it. And one thing the source material points out is that moving through these grades, well, it's not always a quick process.
Makes sense. I mean, real learning takes time, right? Like you can't just cram for a test and suddenly become an expert in, I don't know, astrophysics or something.
Exactly. And there's this particular transition from what's called world dependence, that's grade 2, to God dependence in grade 3, that can often feel like a really slow climb.
Hmm. So moving from a focus on the material world to a deeper reliance on the divine sounds like a pretty big leap.
It is, and it brings us to the core of our discussion today. We're drawing insights from slow progress in the world school, and it also connects with some of the wisdom in Gita for Joyful Living, specifically verses 11 to 13 of chapter 4.
Lay it on me. What's the big question we're tackling?
Okay, so according to this material, why do so many people keep praying for material progress instead of trying to understand their fundamental oneness with God? Like, what's holding them back from making that shift towards God dependence?
That's a great question. I'm ready to dive in.
Me too. And the source material actually offers several reasons for this, but for our deep dive today, we're going to zero in on one specific point it calls Reason 2, God dependence for material pursuit.
God dependence for material pursuit. That sounds kind of paradoxical, doesn't it?
It does. It's like you're relying on God, but for something that seems very much of this world. So let's break this down. What does that really mean in the context of this whole spiritual school idea?
Right. Well, the text explains that a lot of people who are still operating from that grade 2 mindset, world dependence,
Hmm.
all about success, money, possessions, comfort. Well, a lot of these folks are also quite devoted to God.
Okay, so they're practicing their faith, but
But, and this is where the misunderstanding comes in, they think that just being devoted to God automatically bumps them up to grade 3, that God dependence level.
so they're kind of assuming that they're already there.
Yeah, and what's more, they're operating under this assumption that because they're devoted, God is going to grant them all this material prosperity, and that in turn will finally make them truly happy.
So it's like, I'm a good devotee, so God, give me the good stuff, and then I'll be happy.
Bingo.
Yeah.
But the source material makes this really insightful comparison. It's like going to a teacher who specializes in, say, advanced calculus and asking them to teach you basic arithmetic.
Haha, yeah, like, hey, can you help me with my 2 plus 2?
Right. The request just doesn't match the teacher's expertise or the level of understanding you need to actually grasp the more complex stuff.
I see. So it's like people are approaching God with these desires that are still rooted in world dependence, but they're hoping for an outcome that belongs to a higher level of understanding.
Exactly. And to give a concrete example, the source talks about this practice, especially in some business circles, of including Lord Venkateshwara as a business partner.
Like officially, on the paperwork and everything.
Or maybe not literally on the paperwork, but
Yeah.
you get the idea. And then they dedicate a portion of their profits to the Tirupati Hundi, like a donation.
Okay, so there's this act of devotion, but the underlying goal is still.
Business success, material gain. They're asking for divine help to boost their worldly standing. And the text makes this really important point. Many do not know what will give them fulfillment.
Meaning they're looking for fulfillment in the wrong places.
Exactly. They're mistaking material wealth and success for the kind of deep, lasting fulfillment that comes from a different place altogether.
And this isn't to say that material things are bad, right? It's more about where we place our ultimate focus and expectation of happiness.
Absolutely. It's about understanding what truly brings lasting joy. And that's something the source explores further with this really moving story about a mother who went to Buddha.
Oh, I think I remember this one. Her child had died, right?
Yes, and she was heartbroken, obviously. So she begged Buddha to bring her child back to life. Such a human, understandable response to grief. But the text points out that even if Buddha had performed this miracle, if he had fulfilled her desire, it would have only provided temporary relief from suffering.
Because the child would eventually die again anyway.
Well, yes, but it goes deeper than that. It's about recognizing that death is a natural part of life, and clinging to the material world, even to a loved one, ultimately can't shield us from the reality of impermanence.
So it's like treating the symptom without addressing the underlying cause of suffering, which in this case is the attachment to the material world itself.
You got it. And to further drive home this point about how material achievements don't necessarily equal lasting happiness, the source brings up this example of Winnie Mandela.
Oh, wow, her fight to free Nelson Mandela.
Exactly. I mean, that was a huge, monumental achievement. Yet, not long after he was released, they ended up divorcing.
So even achieving something as significant as that didn't guarantee happiness or fulfillment in other areas of her life.
Precisely. And this leads us back to a key teaching. Therefore, it is essential that we pray to God to give us that thing which will end all our sufferings and enable us to live joyfully. That thing is knowledge.
So it's not just about asking God for stuff, it's about asking for the wisdom to understand what will truly bring us lasting peace and joy.
That's it. And it's interesting, the source goes on to say, only when people move up to grade 3, God dependence, they will know to make the right request to God.
So it's like you need to reach a certain level of understanding before you can even formulate the right questions, the right desires.
Exactly. It's not that people in grade 2 aren't devoted or sincere. It's that their understanding of what to ask for, what to seek from God, is still limited by their attachment to the material world.
Okay, that makes sense. And the source even quotes a verse from the Gita to support this point. Verse 11 of chapter 4. Whoever approaches me with whatever desire, I reward them. O Arjuna, all men follow my path in all ways.
Right, and this verse is so important because it makes it clear that God fulfills desires. So if someone is praying for a better job, more money, a bigger house, whatever it might be,
God might very well grant that.
the text suggests that it's definitely possible. But here's the catch. Fulfilling those material desires might not actually lead to the ultimate fulfillment or lasting joy that people are seeking.
So it's like, be careful what you wish for, because you might get it, and it might not make you happy in the long run.
Exactly. And the next verse, verse 12, sheds even more light on this. It says, they who long for satisfaction from actions in this world make sacrifices to the gods, because satisfaction is quickly obtained from actions in this world of objects.
So people are drawn to those actions that bring immediate, tangible results. It's like, I did this and I got that, boom, instant gratification.
Right. And those worldly achievements, those material gains, they're very concrete, easily perceived through our senses. It's a very direct cause and effect.
Whereas the satisfaction that comes from gaining wisdom, from understanding our connection with the divine, that's maybe a bit more subtle, less immediate.
For sure. It requires a deeper shift in perspective, a willingness to look beyond the surface level of things. And that's really the crux of why people can get stuck in that grade 2 world dependence mindset.
Because they're still seeking those external material rewards, even when they're directing their prayers and devotion towards God.
Precisely. And it's not about a lack of faith or devotion. It's about a misdirection of that devotion. It's like putting your energy into something that will ultimately leave you feeling empty.
It's like focusing on the temporary instead of the eternal.
Perfectly put. And the source material emphasizes that true progress, true spiritual growth, comes from refining our desires, shifting our focus from acquiring material possessions to understanding our inherent oneness with the divine.
So to sum up, it seems like the main reason why people pray for material things, instead of seeking that deeper understanding of oneness with God, it's not necessarily because they're not spiritual. It's because they're operating from a fundamental misunderstanding of what truly brings lasting joy and fulfillment.
Absolutely. And this leads to a really powerful concluding thought from the source material. It suggests that realizing our oneness with God isn't some far-off destination that we have to struggle and strive to reach. It's more like a shift in how we perceive our present reality.
A shift in perspective, a recognition of something that's already there.
Exactly. And the moment we truly grasp that, the moment that understanding dawns is the moment we can begin to live joyfully, fully, as the divine beings we already are.
It's not about becoming one with God. It's about realizing that we already are.
That's the beautiful paradox of it all.
Yeah, that's definitely something to ponder. So, to our listeners, if our inherent oneness isn't a future achievement, but a present reality just waiting to be recognized, how might that change the way you approach your daily life? How might it shift your understanding of what it means to make real progress, both spiritually and in the world? That's something to reflect on long after this deep dive is over. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure diving deep with you.
Until next time.